Hey guys, it's Greg with Bootstraps, btbootstraps.com. Check out the store, check out the social media. Again, that's www.btbootstraps.com. Today's video, I want to discuss the very negative attacks and comments that I'm seeing with police officers being attacked and unfortunately being killed. Just this last week, you had a police officer, I believe it was a 24 veteran police officer. He was soon to retire. He was gunned down by a 19-year-old in a brazen attack in Biloxi, Mississippi. The officer's name was Robert McKeithen. Apparently this guy, and I'm not going to say his name because in my mind, if this is the accused suspect that they have tracked down, it's a 19-year-old piece of garbage crap of an individual who's not even worth mentioning. And I hope he gets the electric chair, convicted, or hang him, or shoot him, or all of the above at the same time. I really don't give a shit about this little faggot creep. Anyway, you know, this veteran officer who was a father, who was a Air Force veteran, who was a husband, who was set to retire, I think he was a grandfather too actually, he gets killed. I think he was going to retire in like 9 weeks, 9 months, something like that. So it was going to be within the year, you know, after serving 24 years on the police force. He gets gunned down from what they can tell, for no reason, right? And although there's a lot of support for the police, you know, there's a lot of people who support the police and the police, you know, chiefs and the police officers, you know, peace officers, whatever you want to call them, you know, and the sacrifice that's been done, because it happens all too frequently. Police officers recently, in the last like what 9 months to a year, they've been killed at an alarming rate, you know. And I go online and I look at the stories, and a lot of people are supportive of this police officer, but there's a lot of people who are actually, they're laughing and smiling and think it's funny, think it's, you know, think it's a joke, think it's well deserved of these police officers to be killed in cold blood. There's another story out in Florida, I think it was Dayton County, a peace officer at school, which is a police officer. I mean, that's what they are. They just so happen to be serving at the school. He was breaking up a fight between two students, and in the process of doing this, another student who was not participating kicks him in the face to where she gets arrested. And of course you hear the stereotypical, she didn't do nothing. You know, come on, you assault a police officer. You know, and again, there's another one of those cases, you know, I think she was 18 years old, still in high school. Good job, Mom and Dad. But she's, you know, she assaults a police officer and it's getting arrested, which she should be, and I think should be charged with a felony for assaulting a police officer. You know, and people are saying, well, that's what the police officer gets. You know, he deserves that. Are you insane? You know, granted, there are a couple bad apples in the police force. All right, there are a couple, and I know that there are situations and cases that we can point to. We got our own situation here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where you had our first Somali police officer who was fast-tracked through the police program. You know, he was put through, he didn't go through enough training by what the police, you know, what the police force is emitting in City Hall. This particular individual killed a woman because she came to a police car. Actually, she had called in a supposed sexual crime. The police officer who was riding in the passenger seat drew his firearm, shot this woman, and killed her. And now her family has sued the city of Minneapolis for $50 million, and they settled for $20 million. They've never seen a lawsuit like this in the city of Minneapolis. Well, actually, I don't think there's ever been a lawsuit quite like this in the nation. You know, and that's an example of bad police officer, but that was also because of bad training and inadequacy. They took someone who maybe could have been on the police force, but should have gone through the proper training instead of fast-tracking him through. And now, because of that, this is the situation we've had. So do mistakes happen and bad things happen? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, this thought and process that 90% of the police officers out there are inherently evil and bad, and they're looking to screw over us people, and they're looking to harm us and things like that, like, oh, you know, that's just inconceivable. The majority of these people are just like you and I. They're men and women. They put their uniforms on. They put their, you know, their guard, you know, their belts on, their equipment, their PPE, whatever you want to call it. And they go out there and they do an honorable job, and they do it for love of the community, and they do it because of love of the job and the communities in which they serve. The majority of them are not going out there with the intent of, hey, I'm gonna go kill a black kid, you know, or I'm gonna go gun down a Mexican gang member, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. You know, that doesn't happen. And if it were happening at the level that people claim it is, there would be so many more stories of police brutality and police murder, or police murdering people, I should say. Again, does it happen? Yeah, it does happen, but oftentimes it's because of the actions of the people which they're trying to arrest. You know, you draw a weapon on a police officer, whether it be a knife, a taser, or a gun, they're going to respond in kind. And they're not taught, oh, shoot it out of your hand, you know, or shoot them in the leg and that will stop them. That's movie fantasy. They're trained to stop the threat, and that's center mass, which is what they're going to aim for, because that's the likelihood of where they're going to hit you. And that's just tactical warfare. And that's the same stuff they teach you in the military, which most of these people have military experience. You know, but to make this, you know, but to sit there and laugh about this and make light about this and say it's what he deserves, it's what this, it's what that. You know what? I pray to God we never live in a world where we don't have police officers. You know, because even the few times where you might get pulled over and get a ticket, yeah, it's inconvenient. But you know what? It's on you. There was a story down in Australia. There was a cop who was doing a radar gun hiding in a bush. And people were going, yeah, you can't do that. That's not fair. They have better things to do. Well, part of their job is to make sure that we're following the law. Okay, and if the speed limit down in Australia is 35 miles an hour and you're doing 45, that's not the police officer's fault for catching you. All right, that's your fault for breaking the law. You can say whatever you want to say about, oh, that's entrapment and that's not fair and blah, blah, blah. Well, the fact of the matter is it's your damn fault because you decided to break the law and you got caught. So shut up, right? If you jaywalk and you get pulled over by a cop and that's just because he so happens to see you, that's still breaking the law. You can think it's insignificant as much as you want to, but the law is the law. You either follow it or you don't. All right, but if you don't follow it, you have to be willing to accept the consequences when and if you get caught. And if it just so happens you get caught by a speed trap, well, that's your fault, dude. All right, not theirs. You know, you get caught with a DUI, that's your fault, not the police officer's fault. You know, you don't pay your tabs and you get pulled over because of invalid license or invalid tab registration, again, your fault. You know, not theirs. But to sit there and gloat that these people are dying, like I said, I would not want to live in a world without police officers. I mean, that's Baltimore how that worked out. They all bitched and bemoaned. We don't want the police presence here. We don't want them here. So they backed off. It was minimal presence in the communities. And they went to hell in a handbasket. And before you know it, those same people were saying, we don't want police officers here. They're all screaming, where's the police? Why are they helping? Because you said you didn't want them. Boy, that worked out amazingly well, didn't it? I, for one, would rather have my police officers in my community, who I know, who I interact with, and build that level of trust and bond and respect. Plus, I'd like my kids to see that too. That way they know if there's ever an emergency or anything ever happens, you can contact the police. They're there to help you, because the majority, and when I say the majority, I'm saying 95 to 98% of the majority of police officers, they're there to help you. Anyway, comment below, let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you later.